It's time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
Good moment and welcome to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here.
With Barnet Bain. Good moment indeed. I'm listening to this edge of possibility thing, this music that we have, and I love the music, but all of a sudden it's starting to feel a little stale. I don't know about you.
Which part is feeling stale?
The edge. Wait a minute, I just lost my... See, I have to do this every week.
You do. You have to have a technical challenge.
Every week I have to disconnect my phones and not hear.
It supports spontaneity.
It
supports the kind
of... I'm back. All right, so the...
It supports the edge of possibility.
Yeah, let's take a breath on the edge of possibility. Maybe it's time for a change. There's something about this language of possibility in our lead-in that feels brittle and tired. And it also feels a little complacent. Why do I keep losing? I'm having definite difficulty here.
You're on your technical edge.
I am on my TE. I'm on my TE, folks. So there is something about this language that feels very familiar.
Yeah.
It does not feel...
Well, we've been saying it for 3 years.
It doesn't... true, but it doesn't feel innovative. So maybe we should think about, hey, Spence, good morning. Good morning to our producer here. Maybe we should think about swapping out the lead-in from the edge of possibility to the edge of the unknown.
To the edge
so
of the
that
known.
We can bring a sense of humility and discovery to something virgin, rather than this very familiar idea of a possibility, which suggests to me a menu. It's something like a Chinese menu. I'll have one from A, one from B, and you just bring in the rice how you want it. Yeah,
right. So let me just see if I got this. The word possibility. And I agree with you, actually. If I'm interpreting what you're saying properly.
Well, it's early.
The word possibility is becoming less and less open because a lot of us are using it. I mean, we've been using it for 3.5 years. And it's now, maybe the word unknown captures the quality we're going for, which is really one of unknown, of something that really is new versus something that we've now got tied to an idea in our heads.
Yeah, it sounds like a preference. The possibility sounds like a preference, one from A, one from B. It sounds like, all of my needs are met, and so now I'm going to be open to the discovery of my preferences.
Oh, yes.
Which is very beautiful.
Yeah.
And I submit that there may be more. There certainly strikes me that way whenever I hear the word possibility. I don't know that is as inviting to me as something absolutely unknown.
Unknown or playing with the known, something of that nature would work better for you.
Yeah. So everybody that's driving, everyone is driving up the 101 right now by a show of hands.
That's right. Oh, dude. So let's. I have an interesting segue because I want to revisit something that we've talked about before, but maybe this is the way we can revisit it.
Yeah.
So we've talked in the past about success and reimagining success.
We have,
and that we have, but it seems apropos for today, and maybe.
We could talk about the unknown of success.
I was just about to say that.
Between us, we have one great mind between us, which makes us respectively half-wits on our own.
Who the heck are we talking to?
But we have, speaking
about success and the unknown of success.
We have one of the great successful people that I know.
How do you know
every
that?
Single, and he also he has 100% wit. So there is nothing missing about this guy. We're really thrilled to have our dear friend, and I mean that, Raymond Aaron, who lives in, I guess it's very, very cold where Raymond is living right now. We will do a little weather check-in in a moment.
Well, he has a certain relationship with cold.
He does. We're going to talk. Raymond knows how to trudge through the cold.
Yes, he does.
A little aside, folks. Everybody's wondering, or bored to death by now, but they're wondering, who's this guy who has a relationship with the cold? He actually walked to the North Pole.
He did. Talk about the unknown.
He is really an amazing human being. He's committed his life to elevating people and informing people and to spreading wide his very gracious arms and supporting them to dramatically change their lives and become more of what they can be. He is a teacher. He's an author of a ton of best-selling books. Branding Small Business for Dummies, Double Your Income, Do What You Love, and Do What You Love. He's co-author of New York Times bestseller Chicken Soup for the Parent Soul, and the author of the Canadian bestseller Chicken Soup for the Canadian Soul, which is a whole different order of soul.
I know
that.
I
came from there.
You Canadians, boy.
Yeah, well, our soul is in the deep freeze half the year.
Maybe that's why he did the trek. He wanted to get in touch with that.
Well, he was going home.
Canadian
it was a journey
soul.
home. He was looking for where
great.
his soul is in store. He did do this trek. He's an adventurer, and I can attest to that firsthand. But he did complete one of the world's toughest, most grueling endurance races. The polar race is a 350-mile-long foot race to the North Pole. Now, you
I
have
a copy of his home movie of that.
Not only did he do this, but he also took selfies of himself doing this. So who else but our good friend Raymond Aaron?
Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm honored to be on the show, and if only it was a walk, that would have been comfortable, but it was a race. I was competing against people. I was 62 years old. I was competing against kids in their 20s. It was tough. Dodging polar bears, the entire race took an entire month at minus 40 degrees.
That's crazy. So we're talking today about reimagining success, and we're throwing into the mix a relationship with the unknown. So, a lot of us think about success in very narrow ways. We have this sort of, menu of ways we can succeed and what the definition of success is in terms of outcome. And one of the things that you are a testament to is seeing something that is slightly bigger than your self-perception, saying, wow, well, that would be crazy. All right, let me try that. And that's true in so many aspects of your life, including deciding you're going to trek to the North Pole. So can we, because I love your perspective about, and I think it's the setup for the show, is how some part of being successful is willing to risk who you've been
and encountering the unknown.
Yeah, to discover and uncover some sense of self that is yet undiscovered until you get there.
Some sense of self that is on ice.
Well, what I really like is this idea that you've come up with impromptu on the idea of the unknown being far more powerful than possibilities. And when I heard you musing on it, I resonated with it, because in the times in my life where I have strode out and done something wild, not just necessarily in the athletic arena, but also in the entrepreneurial arena, I have not known. I have truly not known. And it's the people who are willing to stride out, either in physics, when I graduated as a physicist, coming up with an idea of a proof and saying, I'm going to try this. I'm going to spend the next couple weeks in deep concentration thinking a solution might be in this path. Or as an adventurer doing things that no one had ever done before. It's always the unknown that's intriguing, but for most of the planet, it's the unknown which is terrifying, and that's why they lead lives of quiet desperation.
That is so true. So you're pointing to something that lies underneath the form of things. And what you're communicating very clearly is that it is not about this sort of complacency, or not about living inside the story of the comfort zone of our story. So the real success is uncovering more of who you are, as has been said. And there are qualities of being that are the drivers that support this sort of courageous exploration. I know you well, and so I can attest that these qualities are alive and at play in you. And at play, I use that word very specifically.
Oh, that's in our criteria.
That is a
for
quality
success.
of it. It is
fun is a criteria for success.
So I want you to respond to that. Fun is a criteria for success, and other energies as well, other resources as well. And I'd love you to respond to that.
Well, I think fun or playfulness is important because when I'm serious, or if I could generalize, when one is serious, then one would never take such ridiculous chances or think that it's valuable to explore something that is completely in the unknown. I remember there is a city about 5 hours' drive from where I live. It's Sudbury, Ontario, and they announced they were going to have a 24-hour relay where 10 people get together and they run 1 mile each, and they see how far that team can go in 24 hours. As soon as I heard that, I wrote a letter to them and said, can I please be a team of one? And I'll run the whole race by myself. And they said, no one has ever done that. No one has ever applied for that. No one has ever even thought about that. And so they said, yeah, and you won't even have to carry the baton, which was a good thing. Why would I carry a baton if I'm the only runner?
Travel light.
And I didn't actually make the full 24 hours, but I did do 12 and a half hours and covered 100 kilometers, 62 miles. And that's pretty rare, but I didn't know what would happen. I had no idea. And to make it even worse, it was around a track. So I went around that darn 400-kilometer track 250 times in 12 and a half hours.
It's important for our listeners to understand something, to conjure something up in their mind's eye. And I bring this up because it makes all the difference. Right now we are glamorized by the Olympians, and they are indeed glamorous and beautiful. We have an image of the kind of person that has the capacity to do such things.
The physical,
and it's vigorous, and it's young, and it's so. Raymond, you are a man. We are around the same age. You may have a year or two on me, so I am 60 years old. You are, in my book, a model, the most glamorous of models. But that's my book. In the real world, you look as I do, like a reasonably fit, middle-aged man. Whose focus on life is about giving, about supporting others and becoming more of what they can be. And all I'm saying is that you don't look like an athlete. And yet you are an inspiration to many who would think that these are absolutely beyond the bounds of what they're able to do.
And you may have tipped something here that we really are, especially in this culture, enamored with how things look, right? And again, it goes back to this ridiculous, which, of course, that word, ridicule. We're risking ridicule. We're risking that something might be perceived as ridiculous. But what I love, and this is definitely part of the reimagining success, is that there's enough of you, Raymond, that doesn't care.
Well, it's some of it is not care, but what I think, you've really pushed me to think about this. I think we've been focusing on athletics, but that's a small part of my life. I'm also a lecturer, an author, and a businessman of many different businesses at the same time. And what I notice is the courage that you've been talking about is not about the physical or athletic courage. I have what I will call a short bridge between the thinking land and the doing land. And other people have a long bridge. Like people say silly things like, I've had a book inside me for 30 years. Well, that's a long bridge between thinking about it and doing it.
Yeah.
And I have no bridge. I think about it and do it. I was having dinner one day, and I was telling somebody how I'd bought a dozen properties and made a great deal of money. And they said, well, will you teach my friend? And I said, why would I teach your friend? I'm only telling you because you're my friend and you're at dinner. And they said, well, maybe other people would like to know. So I put an ad in the paper the next day and rented a hotel room and told people that Raymond Aaron in person, now that was a bit tough, Raymond Aaron in person would teach you about real estate.
And the real Raymond Aaron.
They showed up and they liked it, and that started my professional speaking career 31 years ago.
Yeah, so there's a couple things about this that I love. There is an element of spontaneity, and so there is a trust in something. Because the examination...
There's a mastery. There's a trust and a mastery. But I don't want to cut you off, but I'm going to cut you off because we have to take a break. We have to pay a few
commercials.
bills.
Yeah.
When we're going to come back, we'll throw
That's
it
right,
to you.
we're on
You can
radio.
pick up with your thought. We're on radio.
I thought we were just having a conversation. I
You
get
thought we were at
lost
dinner.
sometimes.
Just call the waiter,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
we'll be right back with Raymond Aaron after these messages from these sponsors that we love.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
Thank you for staying tuned to the edge of the unknown now. Freeman, where were you going before the break?
I thought it was where you were going. I had said that we were examining some of the qualities that are part of this success that we're reimagining, and part of it, from my perspective, is this relationship with the unknown and courage. And you called it mastery.
Well, in the case of those like Raymond, who are clearly dialed into a set of resources. And those resources are you referred to it as the short bridge between thinking and doing. And I suggest that bridge is a construction, and you have made it your life's work to discover and to become a master of the construction of that bridge, and to share it and teach it with others. And that bridge has to do with energies and access to resources that out of which success arises. Inner resources, outer resources.
Before the break,
yeah.
And I never realized it, but what you said was that it requires trust in the universe or in God or in spirit. It requires a belief that the universe is not random. And if it were random, then every other time I would do something, I'd fall flat in my face. It would be horrible. But if the universe is friendly, as Einstein said, and if God bends to my nature, to my will, when I am truly linked in and want to do something, then I have a way greater chance of just random in producing an outrageous, even unknown result. And so I never thought of it that way. I never thought that when I put my all into something, the universe actually comes to me and helps me create it. But that's a very powerful part of it. You need to have that belief. People with low self-esteem or people who are afraid that other people will hurt them, people who are paranoid, cannot have a short bridge. They cannot lurch out into the unknown because already the known is terrifying.
This is so key, and this is the short bridge. So folks, the short bridge clearly is a construction, and it might be that one of the challenges, one of the opportunities that we are alive, that one of the reasons we're alive on this earth is to discover the discovery of this and the invention of it in ourselves. My invention of it is not going to be the same as yours, but there are certain models for it, Raymond, and in your work you do model the wonder of fun, the trust in your natural talents, the cultivation of your natural talents, your intimate, vulnerable relationship with a divine world that is friendly, that is, you're constantly at the edge of discovery of this, and you teach it. So, from a guy who started off as a physicist to a guy who is a metaphysicist, how do you see that pattern in your life? Do you see that as all lining up, that this has been a very focused trajectory, that the short bridge in some ways is a much longer bridge?
Well, I see that the short bridge has been acting in all parts of my life, in choosing a wife, in agreeing to do outrageous adventures, in agreeing to be a mountain climber and a wild cave explorer. I suddenly decided one day I wanted to ride a unicycle, and so I spent every evening and every weekend falling 1,000 times to actually conquer that darn thing. And there was there's no purpose for it. I just have no bridge, and so I go for it. And now I can do things. I can recite the alphabet backwards. I can ride a 6-foot tall giraffe unicycle. I can race to the North Pole. and I can give speeches to, my record now is 17,000 people. I just lurched out into
with
the
Bill
unknown.
Clinton. I saw something with you and Bill Clinton. You guys are like, he's now a friend of Raymond's.
Yeah, he's my buddy. I was a master of ceremonies for 4 straight days from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. at the largest business conference in the history of the United Kingdom just last year, just for the right to introduce Bill Clinton. And then the guy with the curly thing in his ear, like the bodyguard kind of guy,
Yeah.
he told me I must be off stage before Clinton enters the stage, so I never got the picture. I worked for 4 days, night and day, and had to leave the stage before he entered.
Well, I got one of those cardboard cutouts of him. If you want to come over, we can snap a few pictures, and we'll just
That's
pretend,
right.
pretend like you did.
Wait a second. You can handle polar bears. You can't handle a
All right, back to the business at hand.
He had something on his hip that was a bit terrifying.
Yeah, of course he did. Well, okay. So
Success.
Success and something, Barnett, that you brought up on the show. It was something that Richard Branson said or implied about someone proposing something to him, and he dismissed it and said, "Well, that's been done already. Why would I
want to do that?
Why would I want to do that?" So you share that orientation. It's one of these things where there is this kind of element. I don't want to trivialize it and call it play, but play is not the wrong way to frame
Call
it.
it fun.
Well, no, I'm talking now about playing with ideas and playing with. There's an interesting. You may know this game called the Marshmallow Challenge. A lot of businesses do it. It was developed by. Oh, I'm forgetting his name, but it doesn't matter. Thousands of people have done this, and it's very interesting when they do this Marshmallow Challenge at sort of every level in business schools and with entrepreneurs and with just public.
What is it?
It's where the actual challenge itself doesn't really matter. You're taking spaghetti sticks and you're taking a marshmallow and string and tape, and you're building the highest structure you can build. But what's fascinating about it is that the kindergartners perform better than the business school graduates. That's one of the byproducts of what they've noticed. But one of the reasons for it, and this is really apropos to the conversation, is the kindergarten graduates are cool to try and experiment and prototype. And that's what I'm hearing from you. It's like this idea crosses your mind, and because you have this short bridge, you jump on a unicycle to fall off 1,000 times, but eventually you go, oh, this is how unicycle works. How cool is that? And that's very much the kindergartner in you that, thank God, never, shifted into being the, how do you get a good job and build a nest egg? You didn't shift into that conditioned sort of imagination, right?
That structured imagination.
Yeah.
You never got.
You never give up the wonder.
Never got the wonder
I wonder
socialized
if.
out of you.
So let's present the other side of the coin. Sometimes when I'm playful, I get my knees shinned. For example, I was filmed for that blockbuster hit movie, The Secret, but I didn't get in the final cut. And I did spend 4 solid days being a great master of ceremonies, but I didn't get that final video of Bill Clinton. So it doesn't always work out, but when it doesn't work out, it doesn't seem to hurt me. Like, I can even still say, I introduced Bill Clinton. I don't have a video of it, but I still say I did it. I still tell people I was filmed for The Secret, and they say things like, gee, I don't remember seeing you in it. That's good. It's the people who say, oh, yes, I loved your part in it. Those are the people I worry about.
It's the ones who remember seeing you in it. But, nothing, there's something about this unknown that we're talking about. One of the qualities of it is that it is not the past version 2.0. And so we have no idea of how things really come together. But you planted a big clue earlier when you discussed that it's sort of magical and the universe bends in some way to our will, that it's a dance. And if that's so, then it is quite possible that that no thought or action goes anywhere except ripples across the universe and shows up in some shape, in some form in your life or in somebody else's life in some manner. So
Well,
none
if
of this
we
is
take
lost.
it from our individual lives and move it up to go 5,000 feet into the air and look down, history records no example of timid people who procrastinated. There's no such person.
Yeah.
But history records those people who had an idea years ahead of their time and invented something or discovered something or solved a problem or created a product or conquered another country or whatever. History records those people with short bridges who lurched out into the unknown and did something. And I'll be 70 years old this year. I haven't been hurt yet by doing it, and I've been able to conquer in the athletic world, in the charity world, in the entrepreneurial world, in the financial world. I've been able to do so much, and I haven't got hurt. Well, okay, a few times I got hurt, but I was able to recover. And I still have all these wonderful credits to my name and joys in my life and experiences that I would never have had.
This is brilliant. I don't want to tie this together too tightly, but I'm curious if we're actually coming up with a list in this reimagining of success of some of the qualities that are helpful. I love this short bridge. I love the idea of faith, a sense that there's something for me to discover, and that I know it's going to be good. So this whole idea of a benevolent and loving God, if you will. Right. That you're willing to risk ridiculous and disappointment because, geez, I really wanted to meet Bill Clinton. I didn't get to do that. Well, that's part of the risk of throwing yourself out there. I mean, I don't have to get a list, but I'm just sort of tracking all these things we're going through in this very organic exploration of, can we reimagine success? Because again, part of the tyranny in most of our mindsets is we've narrowed it down to something that is so, and I'm using your language, Barnett, brittle. It lacks, juice and flexibility, just like the word possibility has become brittle. Not that it started out that way. 3.5 years ago when we created that tagline, it was a great idea. 3.5 years later, we're still using it. Are you kidding me? We've got to shorten our bridge, Barnett. But I like the idea that we're just teasing out some qualities. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I like the idea that that we can use these as a way to regulate where we are putting our attention and what we are ruminating over. We can Raymond, you are a joyful guy. One of the qualities that you didn't list that I will append to your list is that you know how to friend. You're a great friend. You show up as a friend. So there is
to laugh. I am a friend to a small number of people. And, for example, a mutual friend of ours, Barnett, and that's Pete Bissonnette, he called me a few months ago and said, how would you like to come to Bali for 2 weeks, starting December 1st? I said, Pete, my schedule is booked for 6 months. There's no way I can get there. And so I looked at my calendar, and on November 30th, I was giving a speech in Kuala Lumpur, which is next door, and I had nothing planned for the next 2 weeks. I said, are you kidding? How many times in a lifetime does someone invite me to Bali, and I get to say, oh, I'll be next door the day before, so I'll drop in? And so I said, because of that coincidence, I said, fine, I'll go. And I told my wife, and we went, and we had this amazing time in Bali for 2 weeks because of the coincidence.
Yeah, so
and I love doing those things. I love being playful. I love laughter. And the only thing I want to say is, don't make this list as a way to get rid of the unknown. The unknownness is what we're trying to access. So the list has to not get rid of the unknown. The list has to allow you to go forward into the unknown.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so
Fabulous.
We even in listing, we don't want to get too tied to the list. I love that.
Don't want it to become a strategy.
Yeah, I wrote the title. I don't care what I wrote recently, but I was talking about loosening our grip on reality and just loosening and loosening. And can I get this loose enough? There's room. There's a little wiggle in this so that something new can emerge. The expecting of synchronicity, the expecting of something magical, that's a piece of this puzzle. Because what you said, now we're going back a little ways, that you just the part of committing yourself to something and going for it, then watching the magic unfold kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like saying yes before you know how you're going to do it. Yes. And then how the heck am I going to do this? And then marveling, because this is another piece. I mean, from, so many people talk about gratitude, and maybe that's part of this quality too, but there's also this marveling.
There is celebration.
Celebrating.
There is celebration.
Yeah. And the magic of it. That's good fun.
Can I tell you that one of the discoveries that I've made in my life is about celebrating? If you want synchronicity to happen, if you want everything from parking spaces to open up for you when you're going to a busy downtown restaurant, all the way to having a person show up that you really need to meet, or money showing up that you'd forgotten about, if you want that to happen, then the discovery that I've made is that when it happens, no matter how small, how tiny it is, when it happens, celebrate it. Tell your friends, mention it on Facebook, not as a way to boast, but as a way to not just be grateful, but it's like grateful on steroids, is actually celebrating it. And I think that the way the universe works, or the way God works, not to be presumptuous, is that the more I love and celebrate and am actively grateful, not just smiling inside my soul, but actively, verbally grateful, the more the universe gives me things that way.
Well, we are grateful. We are so grateful, Raymond, that you took the time to be with us. We're coming up on a hard break, and before we say goodbye, I want people to have more access, because your life, again, is such a testament. Your work is fantastic, and it's such a great resource, and I want folks to have access to it. So before we let you go, can you give us, please, the best website to find out more?
Okay. Here's an easy thing. I wrote a book called Double Your Income Doing What You Love. Double Your Income Doing What You Love. And I would like to give your listeners an instant download of the book at no charge.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can buy it on Amazon if you want the hardcover, but it's a bestseller and you can have it for free. Just go to my website. It's my surname, Aaron. Aaron. So it's Aaron.com. Go to the homepage and you'll see download the book. There's no cost. You just press the button, give the email address so we can send it to you, and it's yours. Beautiful. And enjoy it. And if you want to come to any speeches, we'll invite you, whatever you wish. But in the meantime, enjoy the book, and you'll love the fact, and it's exactly what we're talking about here. The first chapter is called The End. I teach you how to end your old life and go out into the unknown of what I'm going to teach you in the rest of the book.
That's fantastic. You will also, for those of you that didn't get that right away, you can access it through the Cutting Edge Consciousness website. You'll find that information on Raymond and more. Raymond, we love having you with us. We love being with you in person and on the radio. So until next time, lots of love. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, and I love that you always keep me high up on your hug card, Barnett.
I do.
Beautiful. And for those of you listening, we love you. We love that you stay tuned, because we will be right back after these messages to wrap things up here on Cutting Edge Consciousness.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And we're back. Freeman Michaels here with Barnet Bain.
And without Raymond Aaron now in this last segment, which is unfortunate because he is one of the more fun people
that guy is great.
He is great.
He's so great.
He is great. So is Karen, his wife, and a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And so much food for thought. I'm chewing. See if I can swallow some of it.
Always a mouthful. Smiling inside my soul. That was great.
Isn't that good?
I'm smiling inside my soul. I think that might be the if we really have a one-liner for reimagining success, I want to be smiling inside my soul. That might be it, And then what's required to get there? Well, I don't know. We just had a long conversation.
Short bridge.
Have a short bridge.
That's pretty good. And hard to beat. Have a short bridge.
It's interesting because there's also the short memory. Like when he's talking about the disappointment. Like, yeah, I was disappointed, but I got over it like really fast. Because otherwise you're not going to take on the next risk. If you're really married to like how disappointing was that, then okay, how long do you want to wallow in that?
Well, I know in my own life the areas of challenge that I face are absolutely connected to the memories that I hang on to.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, well, let him go.
Yeah.
And we are able to degrees to let them go. And then I am I'm now loving the places, the memories that are still so intense in me, hurts, and I call them the ghosts of my past that I've been trying to just let go in denial. But I'm now finding that maybe if I just love them and allow them to be, that I will change the energy that they are, and then they'll recede by themselves, because we do hold on to our identities, and we do hold on. I'm meandering here. I'm not crystal clear.
Well, let me help, because I think one of the things, at least just what's coming through to me, is, and this is true for you, Barnet, there's a bigger context, right? There's a bigger, I use the word possibility, but there's something.
Bigger unknown.
Yeah, no, and there's something. So look, recently you asked me to just go through a rough cut of a documentary film you're working on, the Rwanda film, which I guess we'll talk about at some point when that's actually going to come out. Beautiful film. And so we did. We sat and played around with it and looked at things, and you took in my feedback, and some of which you said that's a good idea. Most of which you said, but that's perfect. It also reminds me another time when we were up in Idlewild and we wrote that piece, that speech.
Yeah,
for you.
that was great.
That was actually a blast.
That was fun.
And so there's something about the collaborative, creative process. And that's something you have faith in, right? So that you will create something cool in the future, that you will get involved, and it's heartfelt. See, the Rwanda film is heartfelt. And, because one of the things that I marvel at, and it's similar to the conversation we had with Raymond, is the level of commitment it takes to go back, and also the script for Milton. Now there's another draft. I'm like, really? Another draft? Like, please, I've already read 3. But I mean, that's the 3 that I've read, plus the 10 I haven't read.
I sent you the one that I finished yesterday.
Yeah. But that's something, and even as you smile about it, like, it's something that there is something bigger. There's something that I haven't got yet. There's the next step, and the faith in that, and the sense that that's going to be great. That carries through. So the disappointments come too, and the ghosts of Christmas past come too, but the context is bigger. There is this faith that there's something out there for me. There is this faith that there's whether it's a benevolent, loving God or just something that wants to be expressed through me, something of that nature, something yet to be discovered that I'm feeling like I need to in this lifetime. I mean, this is not the course, your career, my career, Raymond's career, that everyone chooses. And I'm not even making it better or worse. I'm just noting that there is something to being an adventurer. And maybe in all of our lives we have a little adventure. Who knows what an adventure is for another person? I'm not defining it. Mm-hmm. But all I know is that we started this conversation because you and I both have agreed that the way we've held success is too rigid. And we really want to play with it. We want to reimagine it. We want to play with a bigger in a bigger field of possibility.
And that field, for me, is not about more stuff.
Right.
Once upon a time it was. And some moments and some days it still is. But in the aggregate, overall, that's really not what it is. Those Maslowian hierarchy of needs at the bottom of your security and your food, and your esteem and your belonging, and at the top your giving. And
Or as Chip Conley framed it, at the bottom it's a job, in the middle it's a career, and at the top it's a calling.
Yes, beautiful.
Or as Kohlberg's theories of moral development, at the bottom it's reward and punishment. At the top it's because there's a principle or a higher value.
So once these things are sufficiently met, if we desire to completely button them down so that they are absolutes and guarantees, that's now control. But once they are sufficiently met, what lies beyond that? what is success beyond that?
So this is a context of evolving. It's the context is discovery. The context is up-leveling. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here. The context is aspiring to, right? And it doesn't mean that we don't recognize that we're worried about our safety needs, or it doesn't.
Well, we tend to come from a particular orientation, and as we work through those needs, from surviving to getting a job to a calling, or however it's framed, we're coming from a place of adapting. Eventually, if those needs are met, it certainly is in my own life, it flips. Again, sometimes it flips back, but more and more it flips to not where I have been, but where am I going? What is the opportunity to make of this life a great adventure of contribution? And how does that even look? So I don't have answers for this. I have a lot of questions about it. But I do know is we all operate inside an image of ourselves. And the image of ourselves is constructed out of our ideas that we import from the past. We take them along like suitcases to a train. And if we lay down those suitcases to a train, I did that once. I went to China in 1989 because I wanted to see what it would be like in a place where I had absolutely no connection, and there was no body language, there was no body English, there was no sign. And I went there and I had an anxiety attack, so I quickly came back. but to put down our identity and unpack it bit by bit, not so that you just drop those suitcases and go into anxiety, but unpack it bit by bit, and then just out of our spiritual character and our values and the lines we will and will not cross, to begin to explore something completely unknown. What is that? What is that about? That's an adventure.
This is interesting because in 1989, clearly,
I went exactly 6 weeks after Tiananmen Square, the first on a group that was among the very first.
But here's what I want to illustrate: your ability at that moment, because we talk a lot on the show about developmentally, wherever you were at that time, you weren't ready to handle it.
No.
But what I love about what that illustrates is you're aspiring to was intact there. I'm aspiring to put down my baggage. Okay, maybe I'm not.
Exactly.
But that's brilliant.
Maybe can I just put down yesterday's underwear
first? That's brilliant, because it sort of goes back to the conversation with Raymond. It's like, what would be an audacious thing to undertake? What would really get me out of my comfort zone and really be a growth opportunity?
Old dogs and new tricks.
Yeah.
We are about, you're not an old dog, but we'll revisit this in 15 years. But certainly, I'm not an old dog, but neither is Raymond, but I'm 60. Raymond is in his
Almost
70s.
70,
And, he's inspiring because it is always about new tricks.
It is.
And I use tricks, advisedly. It is always about the
unknown,
the next experience, the next virgin experience.
Yeah. So listen, I don't know. We didn't talk about this, but the business piece, all these businesses say, yeah, we really want to innovate. The big part of innovating.
They want to control.
Well, this is, see, you got to the punchline. But yes, in order to innovate, you have to let go of control. Oh, we don't want to do that. What I love about Raymond, of course, this is why he does so well in business, is that he really is okay with, there's a level of faith and trust.
And he once went through a list of all of the businesses he started.
It's crazy.
There's like 20 or 30 businesses that he started, and disaster. And then he went back to being a physics teacher, and then he'd pay off these enormous debts, and then he'd start like a taxi company. Disaster. A couple of years paying off that, teaching physics. And that one after another, until somebody said to him, the one common denominator of all this stuff is you know how to be an entrepreneur. You may not know how to run it once it's going, but you do know. Would you ever think of teaching this to my friend? And then you heard the story.
Yeah, no,
it became the foundation of this gigantic career of of grace and contribution
Totally.
to others in the world.
Well, so there's two more things I'm going to add to the list: resourceful and resilient, because he's both. He's both resourceful and resilient, to go with his faith and to go with his short bridge.
Talk
and all those
about
other things.
resourceful for a minute, because
that
needs some clarity.
Yeah, so there are resources. You and I have really actually kind of pointed to this. There's resources that we all think of as resources, and there's inner resources. There's a way of sourcing information, quieting the mind, getting in touch with our gut and our heart, and asking and being in the question longer. And there's ways of sourcing and resourcing that do allow us to navigate unknown with a bit more, you use the word mastery. I don't know if I'd go that far, but a bit more ability. I don't know if that's the right word, but yes. So the resources and the inner resources.
I would say with a more intimate connection with my truer self,
There you go.
for whom the unknown is simply the waters. It's been said that a mystical experience, for a mystic, it's you thrive, and for somebody unequipped is a place that for psychosis.
Yeah. And it goes back to the business school graduates and the kindergartners.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not over glamorizing being at that stage
Mm-hmm.
of development, but clearly there's something in the child where they have, we've called it mature innocence, as that you develop later in life, where you're willing to put down what you've known in favor of the unknown, which is clearly the kindergartner's not that scared of the unknown. Like,
Well, they
I don't know.
They
Let's
don't know
play.
a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, so this is...
So they have no patterns of success.
That's it. Or patterns of disappointment or whatever. So, and to harken back to language, we actually become proficient at putting the clutch in at our knowing so that we can discover something new and be in that
That's a
awestruck
very, very
state.
sophisticated faculty of self-knowing is to understand when I am responding out of a habit, whether it's happy habit or patterns, unfortunate or sad patterns or struggle patterns, to be able to recognize that I am not operating in the moment and that I am tuning my choices and decisions and my feelings and my emotions to those of the ghosts of my past. That's a high order of self-awareness.
Yeah. And it comes along.
Doesn't have to be difficult.
No. Well, I mean, I don't know. It have to. In moments it might be, but that's okay too. Because again, we go back to something we said earlier where the context, the aspiring to, is bigger than, right? I'm more committed to the aspiring to than the from.
The going to bigger than the coming from. Yeah.
It's exciting.
So, what are you aspiring to? I think we have a few more minutes. And
2.5.
2.5. Well, let's get into a whole big... let's unwrap a whole big present.
I'm aspiring to... because this language that we've been using about putting the clutch in and seeing how often I go to first gear, which makes everything a struggle.
Yeah.
I'm aspiring to putting the clutch in on that. And I'll tell you specifically, with my kids, it's so funny because they really just take cues, and it's so interesting how much the music is lined up. It's cute.
Well, we do our story, and our kids,
Just
we will
follow
always, until we learn to invent our own story, we will always be storied by others. So our kids, I think that's the meaning of the sins of the fathers visited upon the sons.
Yeah.
The people grow up inside the stories of others, and they make those stories their own. And pretty soon, those are the lenses through which they meet all of the unknown and make the unknown known.
Yeah. So putting the clutch in on that, because my kids have, again, similar to the kindergartner, they're slightly older than that, but they do have the ability to go on an adventure. And when I'm in that with them, and in this mature way, life becomes really rich and our relationship becomes really rich and everyone has a lot more fun. And yet I find myself tracking back to the struggle game, which I can do with them all day long, which is really the control game. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting where now look, again, we don't want to oversimplify. There are clearly structures in my children's life that I'm not giving up, and there's control, and it's okay. But looking for the opportunity, similar to what Raymond was saying, where's an opportunity here to go on an adventure? And there are plenty of opportunities for that.
Well, I think I don't have my glasses on, so
I do.
I cannot see that countdown
We're
clock.
saying goodbye to our guests.
We are?
Yeah.
Well, guests?
Oh, not guests. I mean audience.
Same thing, isn't it?
Oh, I
Same
guess,
thing.
yeah.
Same thing. There is the audience that is with us on our broadcast footprint in their cars. To you, we say goodbye until next week. And there are those that listen to us all over the place on YouTube and elsewhere.
Stitcher and Unity.
And our podcast site. We haven't mentioned it for quite some time, www.cuttingedgeconsciousness.com. To you, we say thank you for tuning in. We hope to be with you again next time.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.